5, 4, 3,
Not prepared.
2.
There's no getting ready. You just go.
You just go.
Anything could happen. It's campaign 4.
I'd like you to make an insight check for me. Natural 20.
I didn't expect the energy that we began the overtures with.
Laura, give me a death saving throw.
Brennan is just unhinged, fully doing his thing.
Ricky, I'd like you to meet your grandfather.
Oh, this many people at a table is nuts.
You hear a gasp from Octus Taconis. Alex, if you come to the table, please.
Previously on The Overture. In the world of Ahriman, the gods have been dead for 70 years. The doors to Fairy are barred, and the afterlife is a chaotic question mark. In the orcish city of Dolmakyar, a man with a complicated past has been sentenced to death. Thiazi Fang, hero of the Falconers' Rebellion, is executed by the Sundered Houses, but not before he sends a final message of defiance to the people of the city. Out of the faces in the crowd, one received a different message from Thiazi, his brother, Halandil Fang, a handsome bard who runs the public theater.
Hal is a successful entrepreneur of the arts and family man and scion of the city of Dolmakyar. He's very much a man concerned with history and the future and finding the mortal identity in this godless world. Hal's real danger spot is his children. If someone really wanted to hurt Hal, it would be to go for his kids. I expect it. I'm waiting for it. So to be in the crowd in that final moment for Thiazi was impactful for Hal because he's known him as a brother his whole childhood and growing up, but they didn't see eye to eye all the time. They led very different lives as they got older, but you don't shake off family. And he felt like it was his responsibility to be there. Thiazi had things in the works that couldn't be completed, and he was trying to pass off some portion of it to his brother to figure out and pick up. And at least a few days into this mess, he doesn't understand yet.
Also in attendance was the paladin Azune Nayar, an arcane marshal and a keen-eyed veteran of the Falconers' Rebellion who was part of a failed secret plot to free Thiazi.
Azune is like clay. The people around him and the world around him are going to shape who he becomes. He's not very well read, but he has had to learn how to read people as a part of his survival. As he goes on his arcane marshal's patrol, he finds in the little gestures and the little exchanges that happen among the everyday people a reason to fight on their behalf. Azune admired Thiazi, looked up to him tremendously. He was a father figure of sorts throughout the Falconers' Rebellion, and there's a part of Azune that believes that he owed that man so much.
Thiazi left behind an estranged widow, Aranessa Royce, whose bodyguard, the fighter Sir Julien Davinos, has a long-held hatred for the man his friend loves.
Sir Julien Davinos is a person shaped by privilege, arrogance, and bacchanalian embracing of his platform. He has a lot of dangerous impulse based in security and insecurity, and it's probably going to continue to get more and more dicey the more we get to explore him. His loyalties lie really with Lady Aranessa. She's one of the few figures, I think, in his entire life that he truly believes he can trust. Thiazi's path shaped a lot of his family and father's path, let alone the path of all the Sundered Houses. And it heavily informed and shaped his life at a very informative age. But the intricacies of how he got to where he is and how it's changed the dynamic within and outside of his family leaves him with somebody he has to blame.
Another who attempted to save Thiazi's life is the zealous Wicander Halavar, scion of the Candescent Creed, who believed all that his religion taught him, despite his family's wishes.
Wicander Halavar is an acolyte of the light, a true believer, a fancy lad, and in way over his head. Wick had really been drinking the Kool-Aid with all things Candescent Creed, and to be told the origins are not what he thought they were was a shock. To learn that his family and his grandmother had actively and knowingly betrayed him for his whole life was shocking. But mostly, I think he was just kind of scared and confused. How can so much goodness come from such a monstrous source? He's slowly realizing that his name, which he's worn with pride for his whole life, it's not a crutch, but it is a weight. Also, he has this wonderful companion, Tyranny, and he is out there trying to show her the world and keep her safe and also keep her on the true and good path.
Helping Wick navigate the ups and downs of life is his aspirant, Tyranny, a party girl demon enjoying life in Ahriman to the fullest.
Tyranny is just a girl in the world trying her best, and she's very led by impulse. Tyranny is the most unfiltered version of myself. Horny and sad. Period. Ahriman for her, it's a feast for the senses. It's unlimited opportunities of things to experience, both good and bad. Every demon represents a certain ancient archetypal energy. Tyranny does not know what that is inside of her. It is something that isn't quite sitting right with her, but it is one of those like drives that is going to be pretty impossible to ignore. I think initially she was just hired to make Wicander look good, but spending more time with Wick, I think is helping her develop a sense of right and wrong.
Best friend of Hal and secret enemy of Thiazi, the mysterious art curator Bolaire Lathalia keeps countless secrets beneath his mask. But Bolaire is not wearing a mask. Bolaire is a mask, wearing a body.
Being stuck to a body is awful and disgusting. It is aggravating and uncomfortable to have this thing on me at all times. What happens if you actually give a sentient weapon a little bit of lead to go off and discover themselves? He's not used to being his own driving force. He's much more comfortable being aimed at things. Revealing himself was a thing that he had hoped to do for a very, very, very long time, but not like that. There's still a lot of conversations to have, and trust is very broken. It's a mess.
House Taconis cruelly deals in the dead, but their pariah son, the wizard Octus, takes a more rebellious attitude toward the necromantic arts.
He is somebody who has studied the dead, studied undeath and all of its forms, and so to find himself in the position of being one of them to a certain extent is incredibly fascinating, and I'm sure there will be more and more experiments on himself coming in the future. Pin was his first experiment. It was the first time he was trying to make a thing out of dead pieces. He had found the corpse of a fox. He had used other pieces he had found and sourced through various means when he was still at the Pentevral, and it didn't turn out exactly the way he wanted. And there are still a few hiccups left in Pincushion. Chris and Jeremy gave me a lovely gift, which was to make me a custom spell, which is, for better or worse, named Summon Undead Critter.
Octus is guided by his friend, the druid Thaisha Lloy, who is drawn to adventure and righting the wrongs of the world with action.
Thaisha Lloy is maternal, proud, and cunty. Thaisha hopes that she can heal the lands that have been blasted and damaged by the death of the Shapers, and in so doing, lead the world and the people who still miss the weight and heft of divinity to realize that that's always existed within the world and within themselves. Every time she comes home, I think she's just constantly rocked by how much her family has changed without her. And I think she feels the disconnect between her mission and the thing that she gave up to pursue it, even though her and Hal never got married. Family from the jump. With Hal, it was always about love and realizing who you are and what love opens your heart up to. With Thiazi, he was just such a firebrand and such a philosopher. I think it was just, she needed to be pushed and he was there to do it.
Still adhering to the call of Thiazi's former mercenary band, the Torn Banner, is the warrior Teor Pridesire, who returned to Dal Makyar in time for his friend's funeral and his brother's disappearance.
He arrives to find out that Sid is part of the planning process. He is on the run. He is in danger. What is it that his younger brother was able to do, or maybe meant to Thiazi in his time since the end of the rebellion, that Teor has not done? And what does that mean as a mirror against what he's been doing this whole time? He's been the shield for so many people for so many years. It's sort of second nature to him. What happens if there isn't anyone else left to protect? What does that mean for Tayor? Thjazi was somebody that had a great sense of logistical organization and had purpose and conviction and was charismatic, and it would take a lot to topple or surprise someone like him. And so the guilt in not getting back there in time isn't something that Tayor is really feeling at this point, because I think he understands that whatever machinations are unfolding have to be massive. Great. And I think maybe the only thing Tayor is wondering is, what will he be able to do in order to put a claw on the scales of justice?
Another former member of the Torn Banner is a man of few words, Kattigan Vale, who prefers the wilds of nature over the sights and sounds of the city.
If Kattigan walked into a tavern, the first thing they would notice is the musk. It's not bad, it's pretty nice. Clean but wet dog, and maybe just a little bit of man sweat. I wanted to write a character with a canine companion because that is man's oldest bond since the beginning of civilization. Kattigan and Wulfric's bond is survival and companionship. I don't think that there's anything closer than these two. They are partners. Reuniting with the Torn Banner is something I didn't necessarily think that would happen. You know, Kattigan and I aren't too far apart in age, so when things from your past, especially your rowdy past, come back into your life unexpectedly, boy, can that do one of two things. It can elevate you so you can see what kind of man you've become, or it can drag you back down into the arrested development of where you were in that stage in your life.
Closest of all to Thjazi was his best friend Thimble, a fiery rogue who spent every day at his side as his partner in crime.
Thimble is a warrior pixie. She is a badass who doesn't take any shit.
She was born and raised House Royce, very different existence than what she had with Thjazi. She lived in the Golden Orchard. Her family, her clan, is what took care of the Golden Orchard. When Thjazi was getting married, she was given as a gift to him and to be whatever he would want her to be. But Thjazi was such a good guy that he never looked at it like that, and he just took her under his wing and became her best friend. And they were like business partners, buddies from day one. They did everything together. Number one priority is trying to make it right. Anybody that did this to him needs to suffer because he's everything to her. Maybe if I finish what Thjazi started, maybe then I'll feel better.
The political landscape of Dal Makyar is changing, and no one is more incensed than Murray Magnesson, a passionate wizard working at the city's magical university.
Murray Magnesson is that friend that everyone has, where they are the first person to get sloppy at the bar, even though they are wearing designer clothes. And just when you think they're gonna hit the floor, she drops a deep philosophical line referencing Camus or something. And then you're like, oh, I thought she was done. The Pentevrel very much embodies what Murray was about. The Pentevrel was there for Murray when she needed a direction and drive in life. And the Pentevrel very much believes that this type of knowledge should be accessible to anyone who is willing to work hard enough for it. She's kind of like this old guard representation, holding strong against this forced change that is coming from these bureaucrats that are just meddling in her awesome good time that she's been having here at the Pentevrel. Murray is going to be a strong tenant for freedom of speech, freedom of knowledge, freedom of growth, any type of threat of that being controlled or taken away or manipulated. Yeah, she's going to take issue with that.
Thjazi was a hero to many, but a villain to some, including Vaelus, an elf still devoted to her fallen goddess who is seeking an item Thjazi stole from her.
I basically told Brennan and everyone when we were creating the characters that I wanted to be a nun assassin. Not assassinating nuns. It's important where the emphasis is here. I have always wanted to play an elf because I feel like they feel very sort of regal and majestic and ancient. And I personally, I've always said this, I'm a hobbit and I always will be a hobbit. But I wish I could be an elf and have sort of that grace. When Vaelus arrived at the funeral, I think she was prepared for a fight, but hoping that they would just pass the stone right over because it belongs to her. For Vaelus, finding sort of every relic of Salandri is very important to her, and protecting them, that was her given task. There is a larger reason of why it's so important to her. I think at some point it will become clear what Vaelus is holding for her god, for Salandri. I mean, whether it is grief or hate or love, it is a combination of many things, and it is also what drives her. Vaelus is very drawn to Octus's magic for many reasons. He is so young. He also has come back from the dead. So there are many questions that Vaelus has, especially living as long of a life as she has and fought in the Shaper Wars. And sort of seeing a miracle like this is pretty special.
13 souls were touched by the life and death of Thiazi Fang, and 13 souls have separated into the paths of soldier, seeker, and schemer. What adventures await each of them on their new journeys? Who will rise to the challenges, and who will fall?